the National Assembly, I don't know whether it's the Senate now, so regarding Mr. El-Rufai, came out with a report banning him from holding public office. And then he went to court to seek the intervention of the court to quash. He could as well have said, I will apprehend this. He could have gone to court ahead of that sitting that led to that report being made. And it will be left to the court to say, you are hasty. This is premature. It is not ripe. And so we're going to lawsuit you, or that we're going to strike this matter out. The point I'm making is that until the court makes that pronouncement, you can't say, I am the legislature. Do your own thing, we do our own thing here. That would be an invitation to anarchy. That's the point I'm making.
You raised 2 points there. The first being the issue of, if somebody says, I'm coming to destroy this property because it is located in the wrong place and no planning permission, they're giving you notice. And then you go to court to say, prior to the court, they want to destroy my property. I know I got the property from government, so whatever it is. And then while I'm presenting that to court, they come and destroy the property. Would you say that they have no right? The court is not taking a decision on it. The court is probably still thinking, is this right? Is this wrong? They have a right to do what they will do.
No, that's not what the law says. They know. Some of these people you are talking about are even lawyers. You need the speaker. They know that, look, I'm telling you, they know that once we submit a matter to court for adjudication,
whether decision is taken by court or not, you have to stay action.
You must. The court says that you should stay action, even though an order of injunction has not been granted. Once it is sought, stay all action. And look.
Okay, that's fine.
Look, the thing is that a matter is in court. What would be the good reason to say that matter should go on? We will do what we have to do here. So, why is the matter in court? Why is the court adjudicating the matter?
Okay.
In that situation, the court will be made a laughing stock. And God forbid that this should happen. Look, I will not go as far as saying 10 billion naira has been justifiably spent. But that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the National Assembly cannot be in a hurry to determine a matter that has been submitted to court for determination. It's like you are taking over the powers of the court.
This issue will have to become something we'll expatiate on during the coming weeks because we have very limited time. But what you're saying, in essence, is we know for a fact that the court is not going to do anything about this case beyond, say, the prayer to the court is clear, which is tell them to not investigate. Who is going to investigate? The court is not investigate.
Exactly. Since those prayers are so framed, tell them not to investigate. And they don't want to investigate. That would then mean that they are prejudging the matter before the court judges it. That's the point I'm making.
Okay,
since
now
that is the prayer that is sought, that is the more reason why
will do nothing.
I'm telling you.
Okay, now having said that, then we come to the point where we have to ask another question, which is, at what point do we begin to take moral judgment that says that nobody in government should have a right to have a private jet and spend billions on private jets, no matter their duty and responsibility as a government official?
If you ask my opinion, I will tell you that it's high time we started that. You know, people can justify this. People can say that if you go to Abuja, you see private jets, they are taking over the whole domestic wing, over 45 of them there, and all these state government officials, governor, they live by charter aircraft. So we can say that it facilitates business in the oil sector. You can justify all that we want. But I know that in a country such as ours, we must bring humility back to governance. Even the way we build our mansions, Tafawa Balewa didn't live in Aso Rock. They still had to do their job. Go and see the photographs of that era. The modesty of the ambience of governance. But now, this opulence in the midst of this poverty is there. Yes, we can take that position. And we can cite the example of the British Prime Minister, boarding a public aircraft, even going by tube, or the Swedish Prime Minister riding bicycle to the office. Those are examples, and Nigeria is not necessarily richer than these countries. So, profligacy and waste in government must stop. But the point I have made, and the point I will make again and again, is that may the day never come when a matter is submitted to call for adjudication and the government is saying that, just go on, I will do my own thing here.
Anyway, the question that I've been receiving so far on this argument is this: there has to be a clear-cut, this is what you should spend, this is what you shouldn't be spending. And then if that has been crossed, then we say, why have you spent this much? What have you done with it? If it is a case of I had to, then you send it to court. But it looks like that has not happened. You've been following the story. Yeah. Is it that really that the minister has gone beyond her boundaries in spending that much? Is it that it is a norm to do that, or it is not normal to do that?
I think what this National Assembly has not drawn that line, that the minister overspent her limit. They have not said that. They are saying that the minister has spent 10 billion, 500,000 euro every month, as it were. They are not saying the 500,000 euro is beyond her powers.
Should that have been clarified?
If you look at the NNPC, because we also trying to look at straw to hold on to, so that we can, because you see, what is tearing this country apart is corruption. The Americans have come in and they are saying, look, the military, even in fighting, locating the Chibok girls and prosecuting anti-terrorism war, that the military is brought down by corruption. These are issues that are of interest to any serious Nigerian, as it were. But once you are saying that corruption is a criminal offense under the Constitution, like I always am a lawyer, but I also know that once you say somebody is corrupt and is convicted, it goes to jail. So if you say Mr. A is corrupt, you must have done the basic work.
Okay, just before we wrap up now, let me just ask you this. When you look at the whole issue, it sounds less of corruption, but more of moral judgment. If in the midst of poverty, where schools having thatched roofs and broken walls and no chairs to sit in schools, are we spending billions on private jet for one minister? And again, it is clear that there are so many other ministers who are virtually doing something similar, maybe not as much money being spent on private jets. How do we explain it as a nation that this is going on in the midst of poverty that our people are experiencing?
Indeed, it's inexplicable that when you throw the figures around, they look heavy because we are very poor. When these figures, when you say 10 billion, for example, it's big money. When you look at the oil sector, I look at the operations of the international oil companies and all that. You take a look at Angola, for example, which is interchanging with Nigeria in terms of monthly oil output. Angola, there's Senegal. They outsourced all their operations because we had to do some basic investment. They outsourced all their operations. Our outsourcing will mean that both in terms of logistics, in terms of movement, and the oil sector, the argument, particularly the NNPC, the argument they put up for the minister is that the minister's movement is time sensitive, and that if you need to fly to attend meetings, go to the crews, look at oil platform, the very huge assets that you can't go with scheduled flights. And so is that going to cost some millions or some thousands by on our estimation? Of course, it's going to run into some. That is where we think that if the House of Reps has done its work properly, We have anti-corruption.
I'll give you
the FCC is there.
I'll give you a very good example. I have been on a plane, not private jets, a number of times, commercial airlines, and I've seen Governor Peter be sitting next to me in business class from Lagos to Abuja to other places. This is a governor of a state in Nigeria. And it's not that the state cannot afford it.
That is a great
And he
example.
has a duty and responsibility and the same level of urgency.
I honestly, I do not agree
Or you
that,
think
that the responsibility
there is no
of all
urgency in
ministers.
managing an
No,
state?
there is, but you can't compare the two. That of Governor Peter Obi and the Minister of Oil in Nigeria, Minister of Petroleum Resources, where you possibly need to attend OPEC meetings, come to the Niger Delta Oil platforms, attend IOC's meetings and all that. This it's a shuttle. It's a whole huge shuttle around.
Okay.
I think that there is much more than meets the eye in all of this. I am worried as a person. I'm very worried that the House of Representatives that is prosecuting this anti-corruption war are themselves not very clean. That is a huge worry to many Nigerians, because he who must go to equity must come with clean hands.
But you agree that the
It
money
is a problem.
is quite much to do.
When you say it's much, you must look at the volume of work. It's easy to
10
throw the
billion
figures.
is what
It's
we're
easy to
looking
throw the
to-
figures. President Wala just said that the military is asking for 130, they released 130 billion to the military to buy military equipment. So when you look at that figure, it's big. But if you look at the work that the military must do to acquire equipment, so that is
Okay,
just...
final word then. The whole situation now, it's taking a dimension that it is, on the one hand, some people are saying, oh, the Minister of Petroleum is being witch-hunched. And you used a word, being lynched by the legislative lynch.
Tantamount to legislative lynching for the legislature to brush aside a case that has been submitted to court for determination and insist on having its way. That would be legislative rascality. And look, in closing, Sanusi was to appear before a panel, FIR and CN. And he said, I won't dignify you with my attendance. I will go to court. And the court just restrained that body from investigating him. Because in the word of Justice So said, look, you've found him guilty before you invited him to come. He's going there, will not only be lending credence to the kangaroo process, but it will be tantamount to a cockroach going to the gathering of fowls to seek judgment. Okay? So the point I'm making is that we must be even-handed in all this. And we must be consistent. Once a matter is submitted to court, allow the process to go on.
Okay.
And then you come back. And the court may well say, Minister, your suit is frivolous and vexatious. And then strike it up. Go there and
Go and
answer.
answer the questions. Okay, on that note, we will have to wrap it up. We want to say thank you to Mr. Igor Akerega, who's President, Association of Media Professionals Against Corruption and Instability. And of course, a legal practitioner who's also joined us to analyze this issue, Mr. Jiti Ogunye. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
And I guess what you said, the final word you shared, also points to the fact that the National Assembly feels the same way, because we did invite some members of the House of Rep, and they said the case is in court, and for that reason, they do not wish to participate in this conversation. So that's their own position as well, because we spoke with them last night.
It will be interesting to see the outcome.
Yes.
Right now that the minister has gone to court, it will be interesting to see the outcome. Whether this one, the House of Reps, will fly with this. It's very. If they are unable to fly with this, it casts a huge slur on their work.
And we wait to see what the court says. On that note, we will have to wrap up this segment. Thank you very much, gentlemen. But just before we go, may I just mention that the CBN at its Monetary Policy Committee meeting, MPC, this week left the benchmark interest rate again at 12%. Our business correspondent, Chimezie Obiwagu, tells us more about that and what may be the line of actions of the incoming central bank governor on our Focus on Economy segment.